I remember one day going to a park to throw some basketball shots up, and I saw two fathers with their two sons playing a game of two on two. So the sons were on one team and the two fathers were on one team. And it was a thing of beauty. And I saw how easy friendships could be formed. Just like how it could be formed, it could also be disastrous. So today I wish to talk about friendships and unfortunately the opposites of friendships and what leads to it. As we get older, our inner circle decreases. How do you filter out who stays out and who stays out of your life and who needs to be incorporated in it?
I think with that, honestly, it's like, you have to figure out who has your best interest at heart. You know, I think you really have to really, I think we've all had friends in the past where growing up as kids, right? It was so easy to make friends, like, man, we can go hang out, we can have fun, we can play around in the sandbox, and it's genuine. I think as we get older, that sense of genuineness starts to, what's the word I'm looking for? It starts to dissipate in certain individuals, right? But when you have, I'm a real energy person. Like I'm real big on energy because I think that's one of the that's something that it doesn't lie. Like you can meet somebody for the first time, and it's like, damn, I know you for like my entire life. Like we just click, we just vibe, we just have a good time. And you have people where it's like, oh no, man, I can't. I don't know what it is about you. I just can't rock with you. I think that's the first initial sort of like, I guess, awareness that you have when you kind of interact with people, because you want to put your best foot forward. But I think in order for you to like really um distinguish who's who, is like, one, you got to be able to um you just got to be able to like really figure out who has your best interest at heart and who wants to see you win. Because I think you can keep certain people around and they're going to be around for a particular moment in time. However, once you get in certain situations, I think that's when you really got to start paying attention. Because you can be in certain rooms, you can be in certain environments where it requires a certain level of like a caliber, And if someone tries to make the moment about them, then it's like, yeah, nah, this moment is bigger than you. This moment is bigger than me. And you could be the person where you're not even the focal point of the entire situation. You just an add-on, not to say like an add-on in a negative way, you feel me? But I'm just saying like you're you're here because you have a friend who was invited, and out of love, because you associate one another as friends, they decide to bring you along to this particular event. Now if you decide to take that moment and make it bigger than, if you try to make yourself bigger in the moment, then the friend who invited you should have that discernment in knowing like, yeah, no, I can't rock with you. I can't rock with you. So I think it comes with a certain level of discernment that people have to like really, um, really acquire from knowing who has your best interest at heart and who's just trying to ride the wave per se and kind of capture their quote unquote moment or whatever the case may be.
What is the difference between a close friend and a best friend?
Um, you know, I honestly, I honestly don't know. I don't think there's a real, for me, I wouldn't, there's no distinguish, like, there's no like absolute factor that separates a close friend from a best friend for me. I think for you to be a best friend, you have to, well, I'm not gonna lie. I feel as though I'm a very unique individual, much like everyone else, right? Everybody feels as though they're a very unique individual. I find myself to be a very unique individual. So I think the type of friends that I have around me that I consider to be close friends, I do consider them to be my best friend as well. So when I say best friend or close friend, I don't really feel as though there's like something that separates the two. I do see a perspective that a person can have when it comes to, all right, my close friend is someone like, all right, I grew up with you. I knew you since like second grade, where the case is. We're close. We've been neighbors. Like I've known you all my life. You can be my quote unquote close friend, and you're not my quote unquote best friend. So I can see that type of distinguishing between a best friend and a close friend using that example. But for me personally, it's like if I consider you my close friend, then you're my I would consider you my best friend as well. And I don't have too many like best friends. I have people that, you know, I like to enjoy my time with, and for various reasons. At the same time, when it comes to like a close friend and a best friend, for me, they're like really one and the same. You can't the wording doesn't separate the the value of the person for me, if that makes sense.
Are you still close with your childhood friends?
Yeah, I'm still close with my childhood friends. I'll definitely say that over the years, and as people tend to grow up, we get older, we have different responsibilities, we have different obligations. So I think my childhood friends, and I mean, well, it's funny because I have a group with my childhood friends now that we kind of text and we keep up with one another. And anytime that we're all in town, we definitely make an effort to like spend time, hang out and whatnot. Because and it's funny because my childhood friends, our families are actually friends as well. So it's like one of those situations where, let's say, like you and I have kids, we hang out all the time, and now our kids, they hang out, they're growing up together, this, that, and the third. They develop a relationship, they develop a bond. But that bond only came because you and I just happen to be friends, and then we just have children, and then just by proximity, that's how everything just kind of comes about organically. But I mean, yeah, I'm still close. I'm still close with my childhood friends. So yeah.
You cannot tell your friends everything that you go through. So how do you, Ahu, know which friends to tell what and which to?
I think there's a certain level of discernment when you're speaking to people in general. Like you know who you can say certain things to, and like, all right, maybe I should hold this particular piece of information from you because I don't know how you're naturally going to react. For me, I think it's more of a situation where it's like,
You cannot tell your friends everything that you go through. So how do you know which friends to tell what and which to?
okay. I think initially, right, when you become friends with a person, do you feel like off rip what type of friend this individual could potentially be? Or maybe is that just me? I don't know. For the people out there, right? I think once you kind of have certain interactions with certain individuals, it's like kind of tell what type of you can tell what type of friend this person could potentially be, right? And I think that just kind of comes from one, the way how they carry themselves and the way how they interact with other people as well. If you have the same like morals and principles and you're not easily offended by what a person has to say about your situation, then I think it's easier to have a conversation with that particular person when it comes to sensitive topics or sensitive issues that I may be going through. And just speaking if we're speaking subjectively, right? Just like solely for me, like how I'm able to tell who to turn certain information to and who not. I really feel as though it comes down to like what is my intent of telling you this particular information or what it is that I'm going through. Because I think certain individuals, they excel in certain situations that help you in whatever situation that I may be potentially going through or what another person may be potentially going through, but that doesn't mean that everyone can assist you in the same capacity, right? So I think because of that, you have to have a certain level of just awareness and discernment as far as like, all right, if I tell this one person something, then I should already kind of anticipate what their reaction is going to be once they hear this type of information, and what can I do with that information that they give me in order for me to like better my situation. Because whenever there's a problem, there's a solution. I've wholeheartedly believe that. So it's like, if I'm telling a person my problems, I'm looking for a solution. So I can't tell. I'm not going to run around and tell everyone my problems, because everyone doesn't have a solution. However, I think I can, and even for the ones who don't necessarily have like a direct answer to the problem, if I know I can think my way through a situation. I know you can think your way through a situation. So I would want people who are able to kind of dissect the issue, or who can help me dissect the issue, or we can have a mastermind about the issue. And so it gives us an opportunity to like look at it, or at least it helps me to look at it from a different perspective, and we can bounce ideas, and then I can get a new idea in order for me to tackle this particular problem that I'm going through. But you can't, I mean, you can't have that conversation with everyone. And I think that just kind of comes down to like knowing the type of information that you're about to inform a person. How do you think their reaction is going to be? And do you trust yourself not to react negatively to constructive criticism? So I think that's a multi-layered conversation. I probably made it a really like multifaceted in a way. I think,
Oh no,
but
I
I
understand
understand
what
what
you're
you're
saying.
saying.
So it's like in a way you got to be self-aware
Right,
as to what type of friend that individual is
right,
for you before you release that information out there.
right,
Yeah.
right. Because you can't. Everyone is. I mean, you can have friends. You can have plenty of friends at the same time. You don't you have like different friend groups, right? Like not all of the people that you hang out with are going to. Ideally, we want all the people that we hang out with to hang out with one another as we're enjoying each other's company. At the same time, you have this particular friend group and you have this particular friend group, and sometimes, I mean, let's be real, right? Like we have first string friends, we have second string friends, right? Like let's just say I remember in high school, um, the core group of guys that I had, that was first string friends. Once you go to college, all right, we're not always together, but we still keep in contact. Now the new connections, the new people that you make friends with in college, that's like low key second string friends, right? Because it's just like, all right, we're here by proximity. We're here because we're in a new environment, we're in a new space. So it's like, all right, I can vibe with you. Now you can upgrade to, first string friends. Now I mean, you can upgrade.
And then to
And
also add on to that, I'm sorry to
right.
cut you
No,
off.
no, go ahead.
To add on to that is just like when you get to the college level, it's like we're all paying for these classes. So we're not generally friends. We're in these classes because we're trying to pass these classes and move forward to what our degree asks us to take. So it's like we're not real friends compared to high school where you could be in a class full of people you're not cool with, but during lunchtime, you go talk to your boys.
Right.
So with college, it's kind of like you, in a way, have to be fake, but you know, goodness comes out of that fakeness in a way because you may interact with someone that's your dog.
No, facts. And I think to that point, and going back on what you were talking about in terms of like just interacting with people in college, it's like, yo, I think college is more of a networking type of thing, right? It's a networking environment if done correctly, from my understanding, right? So you go in there to network because one day the person that you sitting next to in class, their dad is a CEO of a company. They can inherit that company, and then you guys are on good terms. Now you have your network just multiplied by X because you're in a favorable situation. That doesn't necessarily mean that you and your classmate are friends or the best of friends. It's like, yo, you have a value, I have a value. So it's like we're able to network, we're able to communicate. How are we able to execute and show each other the type of value that we have in this form of exchange that we're about to go through, in the sense of like information, joint venture, wherever the case may be. So it's a really I mean, once you break it down, but yes, you definitely have like different groups of individuals that you interact with that are solely for business purposes, wherever the case may be. And then outside of that group, well, within that group, you know, I think you can find a couple of individuals that you can consider close friends just because you're conducting such a high level of business with them to the point where it's like, all right, our lives are basically intertwined now. Like you seen my kids. I've been to your wedding. We made millions of dollars together. Like, yeah, we gonna be. I mean, one person can say like, all right, we're close friends. Like, I would even consider you my best friend. Going back to the last conversation that we're having in those type of situations. So it's really interesting just how people are able to network and connect with one another. Um, at the same time, I think going back to the original point, you definitely have like a certain level of, you definitely need a certain level of awareness in the sense of like, all right, I have my quote unquote first string of friends, and then I have my quote unquote second string of friends, and knowing like who's who and how to like integrate the two. Not to say like it's impossible. At the same time, you just gotta know and have a certain level of discernment of like really selecting like how you want to blend those individuals together that you want to have together to share the same space and energy.
What do you see in someone for the friendship to last a lifetime?
Genuine. You got to be a genuine person. For me, I think I'm such a big proponent of like come as you are. Um, don't try and just be yourself. Just be however. I can respect somebody for being their authentic self 100% of the time, as opposed to someone who's trying to like mold themselves in a negative type of way. Like you can mold yourself in a positive type of way, but I think that's just like character building. To me, I will probably call it character building. At the same time, I think if you're trying to mold yourself in the sense of like wanting to fit in and trying to like, oh, well, this particular demographic of people, they do XYZ. Let me do XYZ so that way I can fit in with this particular group, or this particular group, they do 1, 2, 3. Let me do 1, 2, 3 and try to fit in with them. It's like you're always trying to fit in with some type of particular group, but it's like you're not able to just be who you are 100% of the time, which I understand it could be difficult for people. At the same time, I think once you kind of get to that phase in life where you're more comfortable in your skin and you're you're coming from a place of like just pure genuinosity, it's like, yo, I can rock with you. I can rock with you. Now, granted, that's not to say like I can rock with everyone, and then again, I don't expect everyone to rock with me. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I could probably rub people the wrong way at times, or they can have a particular opinion or viewpoint of me. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, I think it really just kind of comes down to being able being able to be your authentic self and not allowing outside influence outside influences determine how you feel internally that makes you operate in a way externally that is completely uncharacteristic of you, if that makes sense.
It does. Every friend group is special. There's the outspoken and extreme friend. Then there's the quiet one that somehow gets women attention. Then there's the guy who I wouldn't say is the leader, but the one that finds a way to get everyone together. If I'm missing a category, please fill me in.
Oh man, you got. I feel as though there's a number of different categories that we can like name because there's so many of different. Yeah, I mean, we can name a whole bunch of different categories, right? Like you have that one friend who is just like supportive, like whatever you got going on, they're gonna be there for you regardless of the fact. You have that one friend where it's like whenever you have a bad day, or not even a bad day, you just have somebody who holds you accountable. If you gonna say like, if you tell this one friend like, yo, I want to do XYZ, you're only telling him that you're doing XYZ because you know out of everyone he's gonna hold you accountable, or that person's gonna hold you accountable, right? So there's a number of different categories I think that we can come up with in that type of sense. At the same time, I think it's more so dependent on what type of category of friends said individual wants around them, right? Because you want to be who you want to surround yourself around the people that you want to be, and as a result, you become the person that you surround yourself with, if that makes sense, right? So some people probably don't need to have someone who is supportive all the way through, or like they don't need somebody to be a quote unquote yes man. I personally I feel as though yes men are a very detrimental thing, but at the same time, you have people who need yes men within their friend group. So, and then we see that all the time. So it's like, it really just kind of depends on what that said individual wants around them in order for them to like create that particular friend group for them to thrive in. I won't even say thrive in, but for them to be um within that's the world that they want to build, if that makes sense.
What category would you say you fit in?
um that's a good one. I don't know. If you talk to the homies, I'm probably the guy who um I don't, man, I don't know. And what's really funny, because I like to learn myself through other people, right? So to be quite honest with you, I don't even know 100%. I don't even know what type of friend I'm gonna be today. If we're gonna be for real, you call me up, we're gonna be like, "Hey, bro, I got such and such." Because I'm probably the guy who um I'm genuine, I'm authentic, and I can probably go over the deep end if we get into certain conversational topics. Um, I take things. Uh, I guess I would consider myself maybe like a overly deep thinker. So I'm probably that friend. Like I probably overanalyze a lot of situations. Um, I have a very interesting perspective. I'm probably that like unique guy where it's like, yo, bro, like what type of shit you want, dog? Like what you got? Like, well, like what it is? You became vegan in like 2 weeks. Now you're not vegan anymore. Now it's like you change your whole lifestyle. You do. I'm getting into just a whole bunch of different things, right? A whole bunch of different things. But I say that to say that um I would have to actually figure out from my friend group to see how they feel about me, because I'm thinking like 100% of the time I'm just being me. Now I don't know what their viewpoint of me is per se in great detail, but I know like I'm a great friend. I know that much, because if I wasn't, then we wouldn't be friends anymore. Like if I really did something that was completely like left field, it'd be like, yo, bro, like you stepped out of bounds. Like what's going on? Or we would have that conversation at least. You know what I mean? But the type of friend I am, I'll say like, ah, man, yeah, I think,
Like for me, for example, right? Like I'm that wild guy, but I have morals. So it's just like, I'm extreme. I'm on the extreme end, the extreme and outspoken.
mhm.
But at the same time, it's like if a friend comes to me and like they want someone to hear them out, then see, that's the thing. I'm diverse. I could play the yes man role
Mhm,
just so they could have someone to talk to,
mhm,
just so they could get away from me. It's just like, all right, you let whatever was on your mind out.
mhm.
And I knew that you wanted that type of individual to
Mhm.
hear you out.
Right.
So it's just like I acted as that yes man. Now you can get away from me.
Right.
But then I could also act it as the I could also act it as the I could also act as the individual
Mhm.
who will be straight up with you. So I feel like in your situation, I do understand where you're coming from in the sense of there's not like a specific category for you because you're just so diverse.
Mhm.
Like so it makes sense. It makes sense.
Now, to your point, I will say that I feel as though like I'm a I don't I I think I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Yes, sir.
At the end of the day, if you come to me about some shit, I feel as though like I'm gonna keep it honest and I'm gonna speak my mind in regards to the situation. And so I think I might be not necessarily a voice of reason, but it's like, hey, let me run this by you and just tell me your thought process on it. Like I think I'm probably like that type of friend.
Okay,
It's
like
like
you'll throw it back at them. You like,
right,
I heard what you
right.
gotta say, so now
I'll give
okay.
you another type of scenario to kind of look at things and then reconsider, or maybe not even reconsider, but just this is another angle at looking at this particular situation or problem. But I mean, like you come to me about something, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be genuine with you, and um, yeah, I'm gonna definitely like do my best to really just speak speak my mind on a situation without necessarily offending you per se. But if I happen to offend you in the conversation, it's just from a place of love, and
Mm.
it's not because like I'm trying to dog you or to come or wherever the situation is. Sometimes I've learned to do a better job of like just speaking in general because in the past I've had a tendency of like my words weren't really the best coming out at times. So I was really reckless growing up, and so my mouth got me in more trouble than what I personally would have liked. At the same time, I think now I'm at a place and I'm at a phase where it's like, all right, I can tell you how I feel about a particular situation, and I can word it and articulate myself in a way where it's not as cutthroat and raw and harsh. Like I can still get through to you, but it's with a bit more sugar this time without like it's not just 100% raw.
Have you ever watched Phineas and Ferb on Disney Channel?
Not heavenly, a couple episodes, couple episodes.
Because the reason why I'm saying this is because Phineas was always the one that led the group, while Ferb was down for whatever. But there were times Ferb was um there was time Ferb, if you know who he was, he was the quiet guy. But
Right.
there was times where he lost his cool and he was the extreme one. So basically, long story short, there's times where a calm and collected person could lose their cool, and by that calm and collective person doing it, that could shake the dynamic of that inner circle. So do you feel like that's ever happened to you? Because I'm pretty sure when Ferb lost his cool, Phineas looked at it and he probably thought a couple things.
Right.
He probably wasn't like, oh, it's just Ferb being Ferb. He seen Ferb tweaking and he took it as like, man, like like, can I still be the leader of this group if this guy Ferb could be on fire at any moment? So
And it's funny because I think this kind of ties into the last question about like what type of friend that I am, and it just kind of like it really just kind of hit me just now as we were going through that. I really feel as though like I'm the quote unquote like enlightened monk type of friend, like I'm the guy where I'm meditating. You come like I do my best not to stress and try to control what I can control, so that allows me to like kind of have a certain level of zen, I guess, when it comes to encountering certain situations. And so there's rarely have I rarely have I like really lost my cool in certain situations. Now there's one time there's one time where now much like everyone else, I don't make the best decisions. I'll say that I don't make the best decisions, but I mean we're human. You know what I mean? I feel as though we're spiritual beings going through a human experience. So I mean, my human side, I make mistakes. We all do, right? Um, when I lost my cool, the only time that I really can vividly remember that I lost my cool was like this was like a couple of years ago. Went out with the homies. We had one too many drinks, and one of our guys, man, bro was he was wasted, and it's like that was a crazy night. That was a crazy night because I think we're trying to get in the car. The night was already over, and somehow I guess I just kind of lost my cool. Just trying to like, bro, the night's over. We just gotta get back home. Yo, that's a story, man. That's a story. If we got time, I might dive into that story, but
But you would admit there were times where you just lost your cool and you just had a fur moment where it's just like, like Phineas, step out the way. Like, I'm
yeah,
you now.
I think whether people see it or not, yeah, I've had my moments where like, yeah, I'm completely out of sync with the regular my regular state
Okay.
for sure. Yeah.
What are some advice that you would give a high school grad on how to keep those high school friends that he met during those 4 years in high school, how to keep those friends for a lifetime?
To keep those friends for a lifetime in high school, what do you have to do? I think you have to be intentional and make time. I think that transition from high school going to college, a lot of time can be lost just because people are going through life, and you know what I mean, rightfully so. Like, people are making all type of like different decisions. People are going through all types of like different changes. You have people who are just, I mean, they're going through various transitions of life at the high school, right? So I think you have to be very intentional about the level of communication that you have with a person if you really want to keep that person in your life long term. And I think that intentionality, it really comes from just a simple aspect of like, yo, do you like, if you're saying that we're best friends and we talk every day, that's not saying that we have to talk every day. I'm just saying that same level of, and when I say intimacy, I don't mean intimacy in like the um I guess for like, I don't want it to be misinterpreted for like in a sexual type of way, but in the intimacy in the sense of like, yo, like we hung out from freshman year up until like graduation where we are now. I've been over to your crib. I've met your family. You met my family. And just being on, I guess what I'm trying to say is like that level of communication, that level of genuineness within a person, that should always kind of maintain itself. And I think you should be intentional with the type of people that you want to surround yourself with, and for you to say like, yo, to have those lifelong best friends type of situations that you, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily high school per se. I mean, it can be further back than high school, but I think you just got to do right by a person, because way too many times you hear of situations where it's like, yo, we're friends, and then there's a fallout somewhere. Like, we're falling out over some money. We're falling out for men. It's like we're falling out over women. We're falling out over just some shystiness that's going on. And it's like, if you have a certain level of morality to yourself and you just have like certain principles that you're not going to cross, then it's like, yo, I'm not finna do that to my man. It's like that's my guy. I'm not finna, like, if I really value you as a friend, and I think people have to be very self-conscious of the type of friendships that they have and the type of friendships that they want to keep around them. I don't think people in high school have that level of awareness per se, because I think once it's only by proximity. A lot of times people just happen to be friends because they're close by to one another, not necessarily because they have like a real genuine connection. You know what I mean? So I think being in a situation where you have that level of discernment and you're able to distinguish like the type of friendships you want to have and you want to maintain and you want to keep, you have to have a certain level of intentionality behind maintaining that particular relationship with a person. So I think it's just like, wanting to, one, definitely, I want the best for you, regardless of what life happens. I mean, we don't necessarily have to see each other every day for us to be quote unquote close or for us to be quote unquote best friends. At the same time, I think there's just a certain level of like, um, there's a certain level of that bond that's been forged over the years, it comes with a certain level of understanding. It's like that old saying, what's understood doesn't have to necessarily be explained. Like you can not talk to someone for 2, 3 years and then y'all, or not only say talk to you, you may not physically see a person for like 2, 3 years, but y'all have been talking on and off throughout the years. But when you link up in person, it's like you don't miss a beat. Like we're picking up right where we left off at. The energy is still the same. The energy is still rocking. The energy is still vibrant between us. So, I think once you have that type of intentionality, you have that type of awareness of like the type of people that you want to keep around you and have around you in order to sustain those type of relationships, then yeah, by all means. Um, I think it comes down to just being honest with the type of person that you want to be, and as a result, the type of people that you want to have around you as well.
So, for the same advice that you would give to high school grads, would you give them also to college grads on how to maintain those friendships for a lifetime?
Absolutely, because I think the principle is still the principle. I think it could definitely be applied to all levels of life. I think the difference between high school grads and college grads may be more so the uh impactfulness or knowing the level of impact a relationship could potentially have. At the same time, I really do feel as though like the advice is universal for both college and high school grads. Like the principles are still the principles, and you can apply principles across a number of different sectors or a number of different environment and spaces, and you'll eventually get the same result.
Ihu, thank you for your time during this wonderful discussion.
I appreciate you, bro.
No, he said that one time he went out of character. He ain't even bring up the time he put